Uh-oh. Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode where we had 6:15. I had to adjust the camera there because I was it was pod I actually record possibly later this week. I did a follow-up interview with Ty from Bench Clear about the state of the hobby, sales on eBay, all that good stuff. Connection again, and I failed to check my Wi-Fi or my what's the thing? That's how tech savvy I. The thing that controls the internet Wi-Fi, the router. I failed. What you need to adjust is that internet connection. Is it bad? Is my internet connection bad? Okay. Let's do this. We're just gonna move this damn thing. I'm gonna go live, and we're gonna move into the room live. How am I gonna do this? We're gonna get out of this room. Eric says, "Am I using AOL?" Let's see. Let's unplug this. We're just taking the whole setup. We're going to a better Wi-Fi connection. All right. I just got to make sure I don't. I got to unplug this. Unplug this. Whoop. Here we go. We are going live. Oh man, I forgot my. How am I going to do this with the coffee? Okay, we're going to do this. How's this? How is this? I'm going to walk carefully because I've got my cup of coffee. Live on location. Here we go. Better Wi-Fi connection. Okay. Let's see. How is this for production value? Oh. There's Victor's Jordan Wagu. Make sure that's okay. All right, here we are. Here we are in the rec room. There's the ball wall. Let's move the camera over here. How's my connection now? Is my connection? That's much better angle. Whew. Okay. Let's go to the chat. So much better connection. Awesome. I've got to go check the completely clear suddenly. Yeah, my card room sucks. The card room sucks all of a sudden. I think the router is screwed up. I think the antennas got all wonky because this has happened before when I was having poor internet connection. It was the router. So let's go to the chat. Jenny is with us. What is up, Jenny? Good morning. George, good evening to you. Eric Bailey, what's up? David's with us. Victor, good morning. George says what you need to adjust is that internet connection. I know. Scotty Dubs is with us. Everybody's saying your internet is terrible. And Eric says I'm using AOL. John is with us. Hopefully John got some sleep. It was like 3 a.m. He's still on Hobby Hotline last night, this morning. It looks like I'm wearing a mask and my glasses inside of a sauna. Cops had better resolution. Over under before Bo reaches for something that is no longer within reach. That's probably going to happen. George says looking clear. Okay, awesome. I'm still getting the unstable connection on my screen, but I'm glad everybody else says I'm looking clear. Eric asks where I got the shirt. Flipper Life, which is, it looks like the Miller High Life. I can't remember where I bought this. Actually, no, this was given to me from the person who made it. I'm going to Google it because I met them, and I think they're from like the Chicago area because I actually met the guy at either the National or the Chicago Sports Spectacular a year or two ago. Flipper Life t-shirt. It's not coming up, but I haven't. Oh, there it is. There it is. Is there a website for it? That's it. It's Lucktown Threads. Lucktown Threads. Oh, and I've got the link right here. Shirt. Today's outfit, courtesy of Lucktown Threads. Oh, I can't type and talk at the same time. So here's the direct link to the shirt. Flipper Life, Lucktown Threads. I actually met, and I'm terrible with names. But yeah, he gave this shirt to me. They've actually got some pretty good. They've got a shirt just slided in with a picture of a card going into a penny sleeve. One shirt says introvert, but willing to discuss cards. So check out Lucktown Threads. They were actually going to design some shirts, 1 Million Cubs Project shirts, but just kind of fell through. But that's where I got the shirt. Lucktown Threads, Flipper Life, and they've got some cool stuff. They actually sent. I think we were talking about creating a 1 Million Cubs Project shirt, and they're like, "We'll just send you one. Let us know if you like it." I do. I'm wearing it today. So I picked it up, but they didn't send it to me. I think we met. I think it was at the National last year. What's up, DR? Good morning to you. Herman is with us. Dan says it's always an adventure. It sure is. You never know what you're going to get on this show. Well, you do know one thing. It's not going to be high production value. That's one thing that I can guarantee on Hobby Evolution. Poor production value. George says, I was trying to figure out if it was the beer or your connection. Then I remembered it's always your internet. That is very true. Cooter's with us. What is up, Cooter? What's Cooter say? Good morning. Maybe the router signal can't penetrate the wall of Bowman. That could be. I stacked the 5 or 6 boxes I had that I most recently bought a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I stacked. Maybe that was maybe that's a good thing. Maybe there's like chrome autos in all of those boxes that are messing up my connection. You got a lot of balls, kid. All filled with ink. Yes. So for those of you that may have seen this room for the first time, this is my rec room. That's my ball wall. 240 signed baseballs, all Cubs or former Cubs or minor league Cubs. And that's about half my collection. I have about 500 signed Cubs baseballs in total. Dan, I still haven't done the ball wall video. I've got 2 large tubs of baseballs that I don't have cases for. I'd like to put I'd like to rearrange these cases behind me with some of the, because I've got some balls. I've got some balls, some signed balls that need to be displayed in here that are not. Let's see. And John needs the slided in shirt. Definitely. You got to get him to do a penis sleeves shirt for you. Let's see. That's gross. Zach and Porter are with us. What is up? So yeah, so my, actually, when I started talking about my poor internet connection this morning, I was sharing that my computer setup in my card room this morning, I was having to adjust my camera because I had poor internet connection yesterday. I did another interview with Ty from Bench Clear Media. We did a follow-up to selling on eBay and just kind of the state of the hobby. We talked about what our thoughts are for the upcoming National. So I think that video will be up this week on Bench Clear Media. He told me, excuse me, he told me that our first video is the #1 watched video of all videos on Bench Clear Media in this year, in 2022, which I was astounded, absolutely flabbergasted. So that was cool. So he's like, yeah, so we struck a chord. We've got to do a follow-up. So I think the follow-up video will be out this week. So it was always fun talking to Ty and great guys at Bench Clear Media. So that's what we talked about. So I won't share anything else. You'll have to watch the video because we did touch on, and that's what I like about doing, talking on other programs is, I share a lot of my thoughts here, but sometimes people will ask a question just like here. Somebody asks a question that I don't even think about that is a good subject to discuss. So Ty asked some good questions that I haven't talked about on this show. So you're going to find out some new info on eBay strategies and thoughts on the National. And we slightly disagreed on our thoughts on the National. So I found that to be very interesting because he asked me my thoughts and I shared my thoughts. And then he says, I'm the opposite. So I found that to be very interesting because I thought we would kind of be on the same page with that thought, with our opinion on what's to come, but we were not. But I will say, without revealing what we talked about, that I think that I you can sell me either way. You can sell me either. I'll just leave it at that. You can sell me either way. So yeah, check that out. That'll be on Bench Clear Media. I think Mike and Ty did an on the fly video that they published yesterday about the National. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm gonna tune into that here after I hit the stop button here. Tracy's with us. Good morning. Cooter says, can't we talk about something important like Cheetos? Anything but the National. Cheetos. Gosh, I love Cheetos. I actually had Doritos, Jenny's Team Doritos. I had some Doritos yesterday. Yesterday was a whirlwind. You know, when I share my work day, you know, sometimes I start at 5:30 in the morning and I'll go until 8 p.m. at night. Now, when I do that, it's not like I'm working. It's not like I'm sitting in front of a computer. I'm shipping like from 5:30 to 8 p.m. Like I'll take some breaks. I'll go water the lawn for a half an hour, run to the post office, you know, do things here and there. But to take my mind off of the workday for, you know, a brief amount of time. I didn't do that yesterday, and I was going from 5:30 until 9 after Hobby Hotline ended. With the exception, my wife and I did look at a house yesterday. It's kind of a fixer upper, but I think we're definitely on the same page. We've got to get some of the costs associated with the projects that will need to be done, but I think we're full steam ahead, and if the money works, we're gonna make a go of it. It would greatly enlarge my footprint here. Like my card room would nearly double in size. I would have an office, a much better view. So looking forward to that. We went over there. My wife has a designer friend that, you know, is going to help with the layout and all that stuff. So did that. So took a break for 45 minutes to an hour of that. But the rest of the day, I woke up this morning and I was like exhausted. It's like, man, I must take more breaks during the day than I thought. Let's see. Jenny says, does the new house have good internet? That's all we care about. That's one thing. Actually, the first thing that I asked before, you know, we had a huge flood back in 2000, what was it, 17, I think. So this is in the same neighborhood where my in-laws used to live. And it's actually only like 4 or 5 houses down. And there was some massive flooding. And there's a pond right behind the house in the backyard. So my concern was, and where the basement sits, there's like a walkout patio that's kind of down low in the backyard. You know, you have to take some steps up to get into the backyard and then the pond. And my concern was, did that pond come up and over and into the basement? So that was my big concern, was how was the flooding situation 5 years ago? Because that's a big concern. And did not get a drop. We had like 16 inches of rain in 24 hours. Did not get a drop in that basement. That made me very much more comfortable. So that was my number one question. And number two. So number two, I was with the designer. I was talking about the layout And the office, it's not important for the office to be right next to the card room. That's not a deal breaker, because like right now, I don't mind my office being upstairs. Like when I'm listing, I don't mind my office being upstairs. Yeah, I have to take some small box, but I'm taking like a couple hundred cards at a time. It's not like I'm hauling up monster boxes to list. But that'll be high on the list as well. Make sure let's get a plug-in Ethernet in both the office and card room downstairs. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Moving to John Nolan Drive, not on John Nolan Drive. Speaking of floods, I was thinking of that card shop that flooded. That was the same flood. It was the same flood that washed out our card shop. So he did not reopen a shop, but he does still sell, and I think he's still like the flagship Topps card shop in the area, which is a little disappointing because he doesn't have a shop. He doesn't, and in fact, I think he's having a garage sale this week. Basically, he sells out of his garage. And I think he probably has to do that to keep that Topps license or whatever it is. I don't know for sure, but I would assume you've got to be a brick and mortar. And so he's got to prove that, hey, I sell, and there's probably because he does like 3 days a month. He sells out of his garage, and it's a garage sale. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because we need a good card shop in Madison, and we just don't have it. Let's see. John says flooding is luck of the draw. Some houses in the hood get water, some don't. Absolutely. So like in this neighborhood, so my mother-in-law had some flooding in her unfinished area, and we were scooping water up. And the neighbor next door had like 6 feet of standing water. Well, was it 6 feet? Yeah, it was, because it was almost to this. I think they have 9-foot ceilings, and it was 5 or 6 feet of standing water in the basement. And I've got some pictures that I took like the day after of like the backyard. I did a side by side. This is what the pond normally looks like, and this is what it looked like after all of this rain. And then the house that we looked at yesterday, just 4 houses down, to the west, not a drop. And this house here, not a drop in our basement. Let's see. Do you ever shop his garage sale? I used to. It's interesting because he always had high prices when he had a shop. I'm talking like $40 junk wax boxes. And then right after the flood, he basically like marked everything down. And you could get like 90 Fleer, 90 down, like junk stuff, but for like $10 a box. So I bought some stuff, and I asked, how much of a discount if I bought a truckload, because he said he had a huge storage unit of junk wax boxes. And it's like, if I bought a truckload, how much? And he's like, $10 a box. And I'm like, so if I buy 1 box, it's $10. If I buy a truckload, it's $10. Yeah. So I bought my couple boxes, and every once in a while I'll go, but the prices are high again, and it's just unfortunate. George just ate a bug. Cooter says, does anyone else find the organization behind Bo unsettling? Many find comfort in seeing card hoarding basement hermit Bo every morning. I know, what a strange, is dichotomy the right word to use, between the card room and the organized ball wall? Zach and Porter's ears just perked up to a storage unit full of best wax. I know. It's like, oh my gosh, that was pre-pandemic. And then that's when I found, when I went to his garage sale during the pandemic, that's when I found out how much, and at that time I had a lot of unopened wax from that era. And he had like $50 on a box of 90 Topps. And I'm like, $50? You gotta be crazy. And I looked it up on eBay, and sure enough, they're going for $40, $50 on eBay. I had a couple on my shelf, and they sold for $40 in no time. Judging by the balls, Bo is briefs, not boxers. So what else? So did the Bench Clear Media interview, and then last night was Hobby Hotline. We had a great panel with our buddy, That 70s Card Show, John Keating, at like 3 a.m. in England. And here he is this morning. We had Drew as the host, Uncle Rich, and then even Mike Moynihan stopped by. So we had some good topics to discuss. One thing that came up towards the end, and that's what I want to talk about today. Saw you laugh at the OnlyFans with Uncle Rich. That really tickled Uncle Rich. I think I was more laughing at Rich's reaction than the actual comment. I saw that and I giggled, and then I saw Rich's reaction, and that's what really tickled me. So there was actually some there were a couple topics toward the end that I think struck a chord with my way of thinking, and we kind of talked it out. John put me on the spot, questioning me about Fanatics running a card show. Rich in our Hobby Hotline chat actually said he received a Facebook message, and he left us with a tease about that, about why it wouldn't work, or why there would be complications. But the question came up. I think Ziggy brought it up in the chat about Fanatics doing regional card shows. And I guess he said it was on Google. I haven't Googled it, but, initially it's like, oh man, I don't have an answer, John. And it just kind of, I was like a deer in headlights for a second. Oh crap. How can I answer this? But I do think, and again, I don't know the parameters of, how it would work. And I'm curious what Uncle Rich, who sent him the message, because I think that would be a bearing. And I'm sure it was somebody either in the know or with a lot of card show promotion experience. But I was kind of thinking along the lines of, TriStar has their name attached to the big Houston show. And it's a great way. And we talked about the 10X, how do you 10X the hobby, whatever that may be, and putting your name on everything, and I compared it to Kleenex. That's what Fanatics wants to do. They want to be the name for trading cards. Fanatics is trading cards. Kind of like when random people that are not in the hobby think about baseball cards, what's the first thing they say? Oh, Topps. And sometimes, but the upper deck ones are really nice. But usually it's Topps is baseball cards. But I think Fanatics wants to be trading cards. And whatever else Fanatics does, jerseys and all that stuff, sports memorabilia. They want to be the Kleenex of the hobby. So attaching their name to everything. And it's not like they're, boots on the ground. They don't have somebody assigned to be at the Madison Card Show running around putting name tags on the table and taking money at the door and all that. They just have their name attached, basically like a sponsorship deal. Hey, this is the official Fanatics show in name your city. So we discussed that last night on Hobby Hotline. Link to the Hobby Hotline episode is in the description to this video, so check that out. But the other thing that we didn't really have a chance because it was already butting up against the hour was, are there more collectors in the hobby? And this was something that initially when either it was brought up in chat, I'm sure it was brought up in chat. Initially, I'm like, no, there's compared to 2021 and possibly 2020, there's a lot less collectors in the hobby now compared to 2018, 2017, and 2019. There's definitely more still today than there was 3 years ago. But then I thought about it in motion, and I heard Drew kind of said his piece about it, and that really, what he said really, struck me. That he's like, I think there's actually more collectors in the hobby today. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. John says he has a warrant. Let's see. And England is a non-extradition country. Try Ukraine. Ed is with us. Good morning to you. Late to the party. Got hung up on the Hobby Hotline replay. This is going to be like Hobby Hotline overtime, because I'm going to go on and talk about what we ended with. Are there more collectors in the hobby today? George says, honestly, haven't thought about the beauty of Warrant in a while until you made that comment. Oh, man, this is going to be... I haven't listened to hair metal in quite some time. I went through a phase like way long after hair metal was popular. But I went through a phase maybe 15 years ago where I was buying CDs. I was down. This was back in the Kazaa. Was it Kazaa? Some people called it Kaza. Some people called it Kazaa. I called it Kazaa. Was basically the post Napster downloading. What was the other ones? Kazaa was one of the major ones that I used after. I was a big Napster, burning CDs with Napster. And then I used Kazaa. And then there were some other ones I used. I'm assuming you're all talking about the band or something with Warrant. Yes, Warrant is in merger talks with Queensryche. Some great music. I agree. LimeWire. LimeWire was another one that I used. Absolutely. Bo grew a mullet and cruised in his T-top Firebird, right? What's up, card hobbyist? Eric says 100% more collectors now in the hobby than pre-pandemic. Totally agree. But what about during the pandemic? I think there's no question about more collectors, hobbyists today than in 2019 and prior. But what about 2020 and 2021 when you put a card on eBay and it just sold and you couldn't find cards in Target or Walmart because everybody was scooping them up. And there was all this chatter and talk about baseball cards and sports cards and trading cards. With that said, I think there's more collectors in the hobby today, even more so than in 2021 during the peak when you couldn't find blasters at Target and you couldn't find you were selling cards. My sell-through rate on eBay, 2.3%. Insane. Now it's 0.55%. So I say that even as my business, it takes 5 times the amount of work to sell the same amount of cards that I sold in March of 2021, just 16 months ago. Let's see. Jenny says 10X. He didn't have a T-top Firebird. He had a Fiero. I had a Pontiac Sunbird, which is even worse than a Fiero and a T-top Firebird. Definitely worse than a T-top Firebird. Kudzu. I am not familiar with Was that a stream? Was that a downloading? So Kazaa and LimeWire, I think, were my two. Napster, of course, was Napster was. Here I go off on a tangent. I remember the first time I used Napster, I was amazed. It was. I don't know how to compare it. I think it was similar to the freedom of driving a car for the first time after you get your driver's license, the first time you can legally drive a car. But that first time I started using Napster, wow, it was like everything's here. This is like our dream. We always dreamed of this. As kids, we had cassette tapes, and the top 9 at 9 would come on your top 40 station. And it's like, oh, I want to record the New Kids on the Block song. Yeah, I said it. And you're waiting and you want to time it perfectly. Push that record button. So you got your mixtape going. You want to time everything out. Now everything's like boom, boom, click, 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 boom. Was that a Saliva song or POD? Click, click, boom. Oh man, Napster. Kudzu is that damn vine that grows all over the place. LOL. Musicians looked at Napster like collectors looked at flippers. Can't understand it. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Ed Cooter and I used Columbia House as our streaming service. Hey, I was with you. By the time I was in my junior, senior year, I think Napster came out maybe my senior year in high school. But early, freshman, sophomore, even junior year high school, man, I was I was getting those 12 CDs for a penny, and then I'd forget to send in that damn slip, and they'd send me a Seal CD that I had to pay $20 for. BMG and Columbia House. There was a third one. What was the third one? There was a third that was not nearly as popular as Columbia House and BMG. But I can probably still recite the first 12 CDs that I got. My very first Columbia House was Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It. What else was on there? I think Alice in Chains Unplugged. I guess I love. Okay, here's one that I'm going to regret saying publicly. La Bouche. That's only 4. Okay, I'm at a loss. Maybe the Spin Doctors. I can't remember. But it was in that. It was 90 Ace of Base, maybe 95. I think was the year that I first got into Columbia House. TD says he had 2 Columbia House accounts. I did too. I probably still have an outstanding bill. I probably helped them go into bankruptcy in whatever year it was. George says Saliva, click, click, boom. Got a broken toe at that concert. I have no idea what Napster is, LOL, but sounds like something John would like, an app for a nap. CD Now. Saliva opened for Fuel at Hal and Mal's in Jackson, Mississippi. Fuel is another great band. BMG probably still has billions owed to it. Oh, definitely. La Bouche Bag. Small venue that everybody stopped by when traveling the area. Great place. Bo loves his Blues Traveler, calling it. I did not have. Oh, Hootie and the Blowfish was part of that. Cracked Rear View. So Hootie and the Blowfish was another of my 12 CDs that I bought. I was not a Blues Traveler fan. I liked 1 or 2 of their songs, but I didn't. What was that album? 7? I can't remember. John says you better get that paid off before you apply for the new mortgage. They never sent me to collections. TD says Madonna Immaculate Collection 2 CD collection. Cracked Rear View was huge. Yeah, that was a definite push play walk away. George says Blues Traveler was top 5 concerts he's ever seen. Interesting. I should go, maybe tomorrow, I should go through my CD collection. I still have a small CD. Here's a story. In college, there was and I think I've probably shared this before because I think Jeremy was in here, and there was a nightclub in Davenport, Iowa called Stars and Stripes. And it was like an all ages above 18. It was basically a bar that 18-year-olds could go, 18 to 21 could go into. Because there was and I think it was basically the law. You could do that in Iowa, but in Illinois, if you served alcohol, it had to be 21 and over. So the nightclubs in the Illinois side of the Quad Cities was the nightclubs were like high school, and that's about it. It like the creeper college guys that were going to the high school nightclub. But on the Iowa side, if they served alcohol, you could go in when you were 18. So I was not of age, and I was at Stars and Stripes, and my car got broken into, and I had a huge CD collection because I had like 7 accounts to Columbia House and BMG. I was racking up those 12 CDs for a penny. I didn't. I think I had 3 or 4 though. So I had and I had those books, and I still have some in my storage area. And they smashed my window. They ripped out my CD. I had a really nice CD player. They stole my coat. It was like 20 degrees with a broken window in a 30-mile drive. It was a cold drive home. Well, a cold ride home for me. I had a friend drive. But yeah, all my CDs were stolen. But I'll have to go through the CDs that since that was like what, 2002, probably 2001, 2002. Let's see. Jenny says a dealer at the Madison Card Show is in a band. Gonna have to get him to set up a concert after a show 1 month, and then you guys all have to make a huge night of it. That's Ray. And yeah, he's not dealing during the summer because he's got shows. His band is called what's it called? It's It's kind of a 90s cover band. Oh, damn it. I can't remember the name of it. But it's a 90s cover band. And he played Broadfest. Let's see. Oh, by the way, the July 23rd show right across the street where Broadfest was in May is the Dane County Fair. Same weekend as the Madison Card Show. I forgot to promote that. But the Dane County Fair is across the street during the Madison Card Show in just a few weeks, July 23rd. And guess where the Dane County Fair is? On John Nolan Drive. So that's coming up on July 23rd. Card Hobbyist said, my first BMG order had the first Wu-Tang album and Aerosmith's Get a Grip. Michael says that was a big thing, break into cars for CDs, them a-holes. Never did get those back. And I learned the harsh realities of car insurance and what is not covered when it comes to theft. And CDs, I bet I had 300 or 400 CDs stolen, and I think I was recouped like $200. And CDs were like $20 a piece. A lot of them were Napster burned CDs, but I had a significant amount of CDs. Of course, I got 12 for a penny from Columbia House and BMG. So maybe I wasn't out as much as I thought. Saw Blues Traveler last year in Des Moines, only concert Mrs. Cooter and I walked out of. It was terrible. Wow. We have differing thoughts on Blues Traveler concerts. Michael Rathburn says $300 to $400 a pop. Worst concert ever was Crazy Town. Oh man, I loved that song. That was one of the very first, probably the first Napster song on burned CD that I made. Crazy Town, Butterfly, and Monster Magnet. And what was the band that was Tommy Lee and not Monster Magnet. That was like a hard rock band. Tommy Lee was in a band, wasn't he? Around that time, Tommy Lee band. Methods of Mayhem. Yes. Methods of Mayhem. They had a big song, and I think that was on the first burned CD that I downloaded off Napster. So what was the song called? Get Naked. Get Naked by Methods of Mayhem. Came out in 1999. That was on the same mix CD as Butterfly. Oh, man. Taking me back to college. Where are we at? Dan says 1994 albums. Vitality, Jar of Flies, Cracked Review, Definitely Maybe, Super Unknown, 16 Stone, Throwing Copper. That was a good year. I still say 1991 was the best year, but 94, judging by those albums, that ranks pretty high. Card Hobbyist, oh yeah, I had to hide the CD binder under the seat. Yeah, you didn't want to put that on the seat for people to see. Saw Live open for the Counting Crows. That was the best concert I've ever seen. Travis Tritt was number 2. Interesting. I've only been to like 6 or 8 concerts, so I can't even give a proper ranking. Pearl Jam by far, Wrigley Field, Pearl Jam 2016, number 1 by far out of the limited. The Smashing Pumpkins 30-year anniversary tour, they sounded great. That was a fun show. Kid Rock actually put on a pretty good concert. I didn't go to see him. I went to see Seven Dust open, but Kid Rock put on a good show. Three Doors Down absolutely sucked. I was disappointed with Lady Gaga, and I know that like Lady Gaga has nothing to do with those other bands, but Lady Gaga at Wrigley, I was a little disappointed. Wasn't as showy as I thought. Let's see. Best concert I've ever been to was Blue Man Group in Greenville. I won't share the Blue Man. I have a Blue Man Group story. I won't share today, but I do have a Blue Man Group story. Crazy Town marked the fall of nu metal. Let's see. John says, I did a quick tour with Warrant opening for Eddie Money, not on the resume. I saw Counting Crows at Ravinia around 2009. Butterfly was a great song. They just sucked balls live. Let's see. I saw Michael's comment. Where am I at? I didn't bring my mouse with me. Ravinia, Michael Rath, burned CDs, DVDs, 90s and early 2000s life. Definitely. I'm not in John's territory, but I've been to over 200 concerts. Holy crap. Card Hobbyist, I enjoyed a few Seven Dust songs. Joe C, 3'9" with it, right? Victor says, best concert, Petty at Wrigley. Oh, man, I would have, I actually thought I was taking the dog for a walk a couple weeks ago, and I thought about acts because I'm not a big concert guy. I don't really care for live, especially in a large setting, especially arena shows. Like, I am not an arena music fan. But I thought about the acts that I would have enjoyed, and I kind of wish that I would have seen live. Tom Petty ranks number one on concerts that I wish I could have seen, and at Wrigley would have totally been an awesome show. Alice in Chains with Lane Staley. Of course, he passed away, 20 years ago now? So I never got to see Alice in Chains with Lane Staley. Stone Temple Pilots, probably a distant third. Petty and Alice in Chains with Lane Staley would be number one and number two by far. Let's see. In Stone Temple Pilots, I've never seen Metallica, but and they were actually here. They played the Kohl Center where the Wisconsin Badgers play basketball. They played here, I think, right before the pandemic in 2020 or 2019. And I had no interest. I just don't, especially with like a band like Metallica. I don't know if I would enjoy that. Maybe I would. I don't know. Let's see. Willie Nelson is in a small venue with maybe 150 people. Was Mrs. Cooter in my top. Willie was in a good mood, so he played 3.5 hours straight, interacting with the audience the whole time. That's the type of concert I would enjoy. I like watching the Unplugged, like when MTV did Unplugged, especially the Alice in Chains Unplugged and Pearl Jam. Those were great show. Those are the type of concerts that I would like. So that sounds amazing. John saw Petty live a few times. Funniest concert was 3-6 Mafia when the stage collapsed. Nobody harmed, so don't worry. The show Blue Man put on is worth the price of admission. I never went to a lot of big concerts, but went to a bunch of local punk shows. Card Cutter, what's up? I always watch the playback on your morning show. It's nice to see it live out here in California. It's early for you. It's 5:45 out there. So I still haven't talked. We got on a tangent on concerts. I drank Colt 45 with Afro Man and sang the song with him on a tabletop in the Hunt Club in Starkville, Mississippi. Now that's a story. MTV Unplugged was always great to watch. So the topic today, which here we are 43 minutes later, is are there more collectors in the hobby than 2020 or 2021? And I think there might actually be more collectors in the hobby than even at the peak a year ago. So I'm going to address how you could counter, like, yes, there are full shelves at Walmart and Target. But during the peak, when you could not find product on the shelves at Walmart and Target, who was buying those cards? For the most part, it wasn't collectors. It was flippers. They were playing the flip life. They were the flipper life. They were going in. They were hoarding. And it was, at times there were 50 people waiting in line for products. And I think probably all 50 of them. I'm even a flipper. I flipped some of the sealed basketball blasters, but I wasn't waiting with 40 other people, 30 other people, 20 other people in line to get a couple blasters to sell for $10, $20, $30 profit, sometimes more, depending on the product. But where did those go? People on the secondary market, breakers, were buying those. Were collectors, and I think probably most people watching this fall into the category of what you would consider collector. I hate using the term true collector because I myself feel like I'm a true collector in like the definite, what most people would consider the definition of a true collector. but I'm a full-time card seller. My day job is selling baseball cards. So am I really a true collector by definition? No, because I sell cards and I flip cards and I do all that. So I think that's why I take offense to true collectors, because when it comes to Chicago Cubs, anything I pull, any collection I buy, any bulk box I buy, any box I open, it doesn't matter if it's a $500 Cubs card. It's not going into my business. It's going into my Cubs collection. Anything Cubs is not for sale. Card wise, sometimes I'll throw like a piece of memorabilia that just is sitting in my storage area and just doesn't fit into my collection. But Cubs, when it comes to cards, so true collectors, they weren't able to find products on the shelves. So now you may say, well, how come there's all this product on the shelf? Because now the collectors don't even want it. The collectors don't really want what's on the shelves. Panini Prism draft picks, Panini Chronicles. Even though I consider myself a true collector and I love opening wax, I don't want to open Panini Mosaic baseball cards, even Panini Prism baseball cards. And it's not because and here's I think for me personally why I don't like those products. It's not that they're unlicensed. I guess it's guilty by association. Most people don't like them because they're not licensed, and so therefore the resale value is not good with Panini baseball products. That's why I don't like to buy it. I can go out and buy Bowman. I know that if I buy a Bowman blaster, there's could be significant value inside. More so, even like, and I always look at the floor of cards. Floor Panini cards for baseball just don't move. It's got to take a big hit, and even a big hit out of a Panini baseball product is not going to be anywhere near what a hit would be in a Bowman Topps, etc. So I think that's why what you see is a lot of that other stuff. So I don't think that's a good argument to there's less collectors in the hobby because the shelves are full at Target and Walmart. So before I go on to the next point, I wrote newcomers on because I wrote some notes down. I wrote newcomers, and now I don't know why I wrote that down. Let's go into the chat before I move on to the next point. The next point is, I guess I tied retailing with flippers. But I will actually, before I go to the chat, I will add on about flippers. So the flippers, a lot of what we don't see in the hobby anymore is the flippers that came in, swooped in. We know a lot of the flippers came in and left. And I think that, those weren't, we knew they didn't have staying power in the hobby. And I think it represents a small percentage of those that were buying cards. They were, say your Walmart had 100 boxes, flippers were probably buying 90 of those 100 boxes, and collectors were buying 10. Well, when it may have only been, those 100 boxes may have been bought by 10 people, but 8 of those people were buying 90 of those boxes, if you can follow me here. So now on the flip side, those 8 people, those 2 people that were buying up the 90 boxes are gone. There's still 8 people, but those 8 people were only buying 10 of the 100 boxes. So now there's 90 left over, but there's still 8 buyers as opposed to only, as 8 buyers as opposed to 10 buyers. But now there's 90 boxes left over. That's a really crude example, and I don't know if it might not make any sense, but it did in my head. Now I'm going to go on to the chat. I do have one. I want to talk about noise and influencers next. Let's see. Cooter says, we got on a tangent. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. Can you imagine? This show going off on a tangent? TD says they going out the back door and never seen the shelves. The flippers ruined grading for collectors for the last 3 years. Weezer, Say It Ain't So was a jam. Flippers and breakers were coexisting. People buying into breaks were looking for lotto tickets. The sad part is retail breaks are an awful buy for that. I would agree. Let's see. Where are we at? Dan says, by ruined, I mean made it unaffordable and making us wait for original pricing. And that was an unfortunate result of all of that 2020, 21 stuff that went on in the hobby. But things are starting to, well, they're getting back to a little bit of normalcy. Michael says, I saw a 2022 Chronicles NFL draft break last night with $320 in fees versus it being a $140 box. I don't get why anyone would buy into that. It's the gamble. People love breaks. A lot of people that get into those breaks don't do math. they don't do the math, and they're just obsessed, addicted to breaks. I don't want to open a Bowman Mega Box for $45. For $20, I'd open it maybe. And that's another thing. There's a lot that goes into it. Look at what you see on the shelves and compare it to a year ago, 2 years ago. A lot of it's Panini. A WWE Prism Blaster, they're everywhere, $35. I don't think I would pay $20. I bought 2 WWE Prism Blasters. I know it's a very small sample size. I know that, but it was garbage. I can buy a Bowman Blaster at the same price, $35, and I'm going to get pretty close to the return on what I paid for it. Now, it's going to be a little further from that now because we're, a month away from a month out of release. But those prices have gone up. Bowman Mega Boxes, $45. I bought 40-ish, probably 50 mega boxes last year, but they were what, $30? $25. I bought 12 this year. I opened 6 and I've got 6 sealed that I'll probably just sit on, just like I'm sitting on last year's that really haven't appreciated. So a lot of that has to do with, why is there a lot of product on the shelf? Well, people don't want to pay almost twice the price of a blaster. Was there a need for the companies to raise the prices? I think so. I mean, blasters had been $20 for 15 years. There had not been a price increase. Now, did they decrease the amount of cards? To some extent, but not really. There's a fairly similar amount of cards between the $20 blaster in 2008 and a $20 blaster in 2021. So that's a big reason to why, it's not necessarily people have left the hobby. People don't want $20 for a blaster. Yeah, I'll throw that on the register. Throw that on the, and 45, 40, 35, 40, I'm going to pass. It's not worth it at that price. George says, you don't want to open something with a terrible ROI at the current prices. Without a doubt. True Card Hobbyist, at one point, they got stuck with one. Panini baseball blasters should be $10. Seriously. Because even at $20, I would not buy most Panini base, probably any. There's not really, the only thing I would buy at $20 is the Elite Extra Edition, because I do enjoy that product. But that's a product they significantly decreased in, they made the decision or whatever that all cards are numbered now. Now the base cards are numbered out of 999, but you only get like 3 cards a pack as opposed to 7 cards a pack. So you go from, 28 cards in a box to 5 or 6. And it's like, screw this. I'm not going to spend $20 or $25 on a blaster of Elite Extra Edition for 4 cards. I'm a volume quantity collector. I liked it the old way where, I get it. There's only 999 of those base cards, but, I'd rather there be 10,000 of a base card, give me some hits, than, only giving me 5 cards per blaster box. The rising price of wax has pushed many collectors to the singles market. Jenny says, Ed, I had to reread that. I thought it said shingles. I was like, what? Why would they go on the roofs? Low Roller says, you heard Pokemon print 9 billion cards this year. Is that worse than sports card junk wax era? It's probably along this 9 billion is a really big number. But it probably 1991, that probably, 9 billion's a lot. But, I know they cranked the presses back in the early 90s. TD says, I don't buy many boxes anymore. The price has doubled to tripled, so it's not cost efficient. I would agree with that. Let's see. George says the thing about PSA, they are happy to take in fewer cards and charge a higher price while doing it. Unfortunately, I think the lowest their value will go will be $20. I think that's the floor. I would agree with that. I think eventually, and what's the floor now? $30, and they've opened up to. So initially, it was open to like only, I think, Collectors Club members, and that still may be the case. But it was only 1996 to 2000 present, maybe. And I think they open it up for all years at $30 for the economy. And I think $20, I think they'll get back to that. But I don't see any lower than that price point. Michael says every Target, Walmart has hordes of Pokemon. Pokemon and Magic was all you can find. Let's see. Chronicles MLB is the only thing I've ever done well on. And I do enjoy at $20. I would rip a box or two of Panini Chronicles because it's a fun rip. And there are some, I think it's a better rip. I think it's a better ROI than Prism Baseball and Mosaic Baseball and whatever else there is. And it's a fun rip at $20, but I'm not going to pay $30. I don't know what the price tag is on it, but for a one or two boxes, I would pay $20. Eric says retail box flippers are gone. Stimulus checks are gone. The overproduced junk products will remain on the shelves. The Prism basketball, football, Bowman retail products always sell well. Cooter says retail prices haven't been an issue for me since 1993. Finding 7 Giants I want to get the 25% discount. Now that can be an issue. There you go. Eric says we are also entering into a junk slab era now that PSA is returning cards from a year and a half ago. There were, I didn't talk about this yesterday or during the card show review. I've shared that I dabbled into basketball slabs at the National last year. I bought about 35 basketball rookie Prism slabs for several $100s. I paid about $12 or $13 per slab, and I thought it was a wise move, a smart decision, because it was in a down. Basketball was in a down market. Well, basketball's down market never rebounded, pun intended. And I was stuck with about a third of what I bought still up until this weekend. I put $5 per slab, and somebody came in. He's like, I'll buy all 12 of these for $60. That was $144 or possibly more, $144 to $160. And my return was $60. And I learned a lesson, and I'm just going to stay in my lane. I'm going to stick to the bargain boxes raw and buy in bulk and stay away from graded. Let's see. And the reason I said that was I wasn't the only dealer that had $5 slabs. Now, in the past, when you saw $5 slab boxes, it was like 1998 Bowman Jeff Yoder, who, by the way, was a pitching prospect for the Cubs that didn't make it. It was like those 90s Bowman card prospects that never, Ruben Mateo and players like that, Eddie Yarnell, Ricardo Arambeles. But now you're seeing Prism rookies of current basketball players in the $5 slab boxes, PSA 8, PSA 7, SGC 9. Tracy said, bought 4 blasters of Bowman this year, 1 numbered card in 2 of them. Definitely did not get money back in any of the 4 I bought. Did complete a base set, though. I did really well. Even without the Ellie De La Cruz auto, I did really well. And I probably broke even or made money on every single blaster of Bowman I ripped. And that's basically keeping the Cubs and selling everything else. I did really, even without that Ellie De La Cruz, I did some math, like within a week or two, I think I had, even without the large sale of the Ellie De La Cruz, I had made a profit on my Bowman blasters. Let's see. Upper Deck still printing that 89 Griffey. Everything else is just hard toilet paper. Let's see. Jenny says, George, when COVID hit, everyone was running to Walmart to fight over toilet paper. I went to pick up a U-Haul of sports cards. Let's see. Skipped ahead a little bit. Low Roller says, I saw people spend $3,000 in a break. How can people afford it? I can't even afford $5 break at all. There's collectors at every price point. I mean, people can afford $24,000 National Treasures boxes or whatever that high-end product is. Mark says, I started collecting in the mid 70s. Card collecting has its peaks and valleys. Really big in 88 to 91, shows in stores everywhere. Michael says, I think 87 is when things went nuts, probably until 91. So I've done some research into just looking at old newspaper articles on where the hobby was through the 80s and 90s. And the hobby's downturn actually began in 90. You know, we pretty much look back and say, well, the strike killed baseball cards. The card market had actually started the decline in 92. And there's a graph, and I'll have to find the graph. And it shows the sales, and it peaked in 91. And by early 92, there was already a decline. And then, of course, it pretty much plummeted in 94, because not only was the baseball strike in 94, was the NHL, I think, on lockout at the same time. I think 2 of the 4 pro sports leagues were on strike or locked out at the same time. TD Sports Card says there's a guy with Leighton that spends $10K a week. Yikes. 608 says, I'm way behind, but we just moved into a new house. Had to get out of that neighborhood. Where did you get the ball cases? Unfortunately, I can't find them anymore, because when I get more wall space, I have another 6 that I could fill. I bought these on eBay probably 8 years ago. And now I can't find them. And I don't even know, where I bought them. But I found them on eBay. I think I shopped baseball cases, baseball glass cases or something. But I haven't been able to find them since. Low Roller says, how was your card show for 25 cents without penny sleeves? Is your experience? Hard to say. I was disappointed with my sales, but it's hard to say with one show. When I reviewed the show on Monday, I think my position in the room, hurt my sales. There were a lot of other bargain boxes in the show that I just don't think people got to my boxes. So I think that had some to do with it. So it's still, I'll take them to the next show I do, which will probably be next month in August in Rockford. So we'll see how it goes there. And so I don't plan to make any changes. I think my dollar box experiment, my dollar boxes, even if I have, I don't have great, I don't have $10, $20 cards in my dollar boxes. I have $5 cards in my dollar, maybe some $7 cards in my dollar boxes. But people love those quarter cards, and I think they like the volume. But I just didn't move as many as I thought I would at the show on Sunday. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I remember Arabu's for $20 and 97 Bowman. Oh yeah. You can sell your slabs for $5 when you find it in your Goodwill bins for free. Well, I still have to pay. There's still a cost on those Goodwill pallets. And actually, I think 2 of them I think 2 of those I did pull out of the Goodwill pallets. And one was Tim Couch. One was like a BCCG Jordan Love. And one was a Tim Couch, like GMA or GMC or some random slab, and it sold $5. Ellie De La Cruz is killing it in the minors. I've been skipping buying boxes as well. Recently, I did a grab Prism football, but Series 2 hobby was $75. I passed, no interest. Football becoming more PC for Jenny. Anyone want to buy out 20,000 unique Twins collection? That's impressive. These people who spend 20,000 on a break probably don't have a mortgage. Let's see. They might have a mortgage. They just have the they have the money. Let's see. Did you guys hear about the new scam guys keeping keep buying jewelry for their wives and keep getting delivered baseball cards. Hayden Miller, what is up? Good morning. I'm curious how you track your purchases and how much you have into every card when you have thousands of low-end singles on eBay. I don't really. I have an idea of what I can make on the boxes. At times I've attached like a tracking code within the title. It says like RO01, which stands for Rockford January. So that's what I bought, and then I can go track based on my sales, what sold from RO01. But at the end of the day, it's just a waste of time to get into the tracking. I do a general tracking where I'm not tracking every single purchase down to the card, but I am tracking, okay, I spent X amount at this show, X amount at that show, so I can break it down on a monthly basis. So, say I spent $200 at the Rockford show in January, I spent $300 at the Madison show, I spent $400 on blaster boxes in January, and then here's what I made in revenue from eBay and from card show sales. So it's more of a macro look as opposed to a micro look. So it's, $500 for this Goodwill palette, etc. So it's not down to, okay, I sold X amount of cards out of this palette and I made this much money. It's not broken down to that degree. I just don't have the time or patience to do that. And it's not needed. Like, it'd be cool to go back and say, hey, I spent $100 on this box and I made in 3 months $450. It would provide good content, but with the time it takes, it's for me, it's not worth the time. George says, haven't heard about that one. Jenny, interestingly disturbing. Bo, can you give a plug for the Minnesota Card Show this Saturday? St. Francis at the VFW, just north of Anoka. I just did. So check that out. Card show this Saturday, St. Francis, Wisconsin. I think I have a regular buyer on eBay from St. Francis, Minnesota. That town sounds familiar. Let's see. Low Roller asks, have I found any new Goodwill bins? I have not. I'm thinking possibly this week or next week. There may be another one if they still come. If this is kind of around the time that it should pop up. So I'm thinking maybe this week or next week. With the 4th of July holiday, maybe it's pushed out to next week. But I think any time now, another Goodwill palette could become available. George says, although could just be telling the wives they bought them jewelry and they really bought cards. Has Top Series 2 hit retail? Haven't seen or heard it. I don't think so. I don't think it has hit. Jeremy, that sounds very similar to what we have been experiencing. Mrs. Cooter orders Walmart groceries online, and Heltzberg keeps fulfilling the order. Let's see. Jenny, not Jeremy. Let's see. George says, was a joke. I'm drunk. I saw a bunch of Series 2 retail. Oh, so Jenny says it is out. I grabbed a hanger for $12. Not worth it. One twin, junk inserts, in my opinion, bunch of base pictures. Yeah, the Series 2 checklist is, I have no interest. If there's some on the shelf, I may buy. Probably not though. Do you sell memorabilia in addition to cards? Typically not. I stick to cards. If I buy a collection and there's memorabilia, it's just kind of a part of it. I collect Cubs memorabilia, but I don't really sell anything other than cards. Let's see. You just sold Michael Jordan. I did. Low Roller might be breaking news. Holy crap. I did. That was $1 card. So I just sold Low Roller. Low Roller is paying closer attention to my eBay store than I am. 1993-94 Fleer Ultra All Defense Team Insert Michael Jordan. Dollar box on Sunday. $1 sold today for $110. How about that? So that paid for all of the, that paid for all of the dollar cards I bought from that vendor, the $5 I bought from another vendor. 45, 75. So that's 80. So basically that sale paid for all of those cards. And then I've got the dime boxes that I bought. So Low Roller, thanks for breaking news on my own eBay store this morning. How about that? That's a great start to a win. I may just take the rest of the morning off. No, I got too much shipping to do. Eric says, did you notice the new feature on the eBay app on sold items? It shows if the buyer left feedback and also if it's a repeat buyer. Nice to see repeat buyers to your eBay store. I have noticed that. I don't know about the feedback. I haven't noticed that, but I have noticed the repeat buyer. That also shows up on offers. And it's like, I'll get, and it shows up as a repeat buyer, but they send like a low ball, like 99-cent offer on a $7 card. And it's like, but it's a repeat buyer. It's like, oh, well, it's not a good offer. Let's see, where are we at here? George says, Jenny, I tweeted earlier that I've lost all interest in anything modern. Doesn't mean it's bad. I'm just not interested in anymore. Wonder if I know the buyer. Been plugging your show and eBay at the shows here. Thank you very much. Did you know people buy reporter kid NFL cards on eBay? Shit. No, I didn't know that. I just threw a bunch away. Oh, fudge. No, there was a stack of those like this that I thought they were junk. Low Roller is, I may have to hire you as my assistant, Low Roller. NFL reporter. Damn it. Oh, you know what? They might be in my, what day is it? Is today Wednesday? I think today's trash day. NFL reporter card. I'm gonna look that up. Well, son of a bee. You're right, they do sell. Yeah, I just thought they were junk. I thought they were like those random junk cards. Oh, I don't see any sold though. Interesting. Okay, moving on. George says, by the way, I talked, if you're just joining, I did talk a little bit about why I think there might be more collectors in the hobby today. I do have one more point to discuss in that topic. So George says 100% transparency. The whole lockout stuff soured me on sports again. It did in the interim for me, but once I got out to spring training, that all went away. Hence, not caring for modern anymore. That makes sense. Jason says turning $1 into 100 plus is a nice ROI. Absolutely. Card Hobbyist says I've sold a bunch of Bears cards recently. Excellent. I've got a ton listed. I've got a bunch more from that show in Green Bay I did. You should consider buying more Michael Jordan rare cards. If I can find them, man, if I can find them. Victor says, congrats. Thank you. Offers also show if buyer has automatic payment set up to pay you when you accept an offer. Jenny says it's your garbage day. Frank is going to be watching your feet hanging out your trash bin on the curb digging for NFL reporter cards. I know, right? What you got to do is make sure the code hasn't been entered, I think. Okay, I will check. I will, because I got to take the trash out anyway, and I think the bag is up there. It's all good, Jenny. Bo's grass is green. Frank's is still brown. We've had 2.5 inches of rain in the last 2 days. So I had the greenest grass in the neighborhood. I'm also going to have the most expensive water bill this month in the neighborhood, but my grass is greener, even greener than Frank's. And Frank has an in-ground sprinkler system. So take that, Frank, in your brown lawn. In fact, if he comes out, Frank, your lawn looks kind of brown, because that's what he says to me. Bo, your grass is getting pretty long. How come you haven't mowed lately? Boy, your grass is brown. Well, Frank, your grass is brown. Bo going to end up buying a house with brown grass. So one more point I want to make on why I think there might be more collectors in the hobby today, despite less sales on eBay, more product on the shelves. I think there's less noise. And what I mean by that is there were a lot of celebrities and influencers. Remember Gary Vee? Guys like that, they had big followings. And I say that I love his content. I like Gary V. But he's not really in the game. I think he still does kind of on the side, but he's not pumping it like he was in 2019 and 2020. But a lot of those mouthpieces with huge followings are not pumping the market like they were pumping it in 2020 and 2021. Even look at Jeff Wilson. We don't see too many of his hype videos anymore. We're not seeing the hype, which I think is good because I think there was too much of it. And I think everybody here knew that this isn't sustainable. There's all this hype. The hype machine is on full blast. And I think it attracted the flippers, flipper life. It attracted the flippers like, oh, and I saw somebody tweet, I think it might have been Ryan's Cards, who tweeted out last week, it's the summer lull. We're gonna go back in just a few. No, we're not. This is I think the new normal in cards, this market right now. And I think those of us who lived through the 80s and 90s, we understand that. Like the 1991 didn't last forever and it went. I think that's where we're at. Do I think it's going to crash like it did in 1994? I don't think so. There's always a possibility. I don't think so. I don't think we're due for a crash, but I think this is the card market. This is what it's going to be. I do still think there's more collectors in the hobby. I think they've spread the money. There's the flippers aren't clearing the shelves. The prices are up on retail. That's why they're still full of shelves. How come I'm only selling a fifth of the volume I was a year ago? Now I'm selling the same amount of cards, but I have 5 times the inventory. People are putting their money elsewhere. But I still do think I'm still moving junk wax cards. I just sold a Fleer Ultra Michael Jordan for $110. So there's still buyers in the hobby. And I think there's still more. And another thing that I didn't write this down, but I'm at 2 or 3 shows a month. One as a promoter, the Madison Card Show, which the next one's July 23rd. It's a Saturday. After the show, go across the street, check out the Dane County Fair, which is on John Nolan Drive, by the way. So as a promoter, and I'm talking to dealers, I'm talking to customers, I'm listening. I'm set up as a dealer at 1 show a month, typically outside the show I promote. And then usually once a month or once every other month, I'm walking another show floor and just kind of taking it all in. And I hear even this past weekend, I heard this is my first card show. I'm still hearing people walk into card shows that are saying, this is the first time I've been to a card show in 30 years, or I've never been to a card show. I'm taking my son to his first card show. I'm taking my daughter to her first card show. I'm still hearing that despite, all of the uncertainty within the hobby. Now, am I saying the hobby's due for a rebound and we're going to go crazy again? Absolutely not. We may go crazy again like we saw in 2020, 2021, but it might be 20 or 30 years before we see that type of craziness again. But at the same time, I'm not saying the hobby's on this. Is it declining? It's declining from the peaks, but it's still above where we were at in 2018 and 2019, and for the most part, largely 2020. I don't think we really saw a big spike until midway through 2020. Like June, I think is when we saw that big spike during the pandemic. So, I still hear it at every show. And we've got guys like Zach and Porter. Zach came back during the pandemic. He's still in the hobby. He just created his own YouTube channel with his son, and they're going to shows and they're still collecting. There are a lot of those collectors that came in during the pandemic and stayed. It's the flipper life that didn't stick around. And I think there were more Zach and Porters that came in and stayed than there were flippers that came and left. So that's what I had for today. Let's go back into the chat real quick before I wrap it up. Jason says, I'm okay without seeing pump and dump Gary V. Low Roller says, sports cards turning like cryptocurrency. You think the same flippers are investing in crypto? I think there's a lot of similarities between the two in terms of flippers. I think a lot of the flippers, gamblers that came in to the hobby or may still be in cards are also speculating with NFTs and crypto. Definitely. KBO says, who wants to come see me in Atlantic City? Not me, Ken, not me. Mark says, my sets end at 1991. The last year Topps put gum in packs. That's right. That was so because I was a kid. That was so disappointing from 1991 to 92. There's no gum in my pack. And there were still some cards that had gum, I think, in after Topps. Did Topps put gum in packs again, like in 93 or 94? Did they come with like a bigger stick? Like it wasn't like the small stick we're used to, but it was like that almost card-sized stick of gum. I remember that in something. And they also put it in plastic as opposed to just up against the card to leave those wonderful gum stains that I actually enjoy. ATX Treasure Chest, why do you feel this is the new normal? This is a good question. Do you also feel this is the new normal for gas prices, food prices, etc.? To an extent, yes. I think that it depends on demand. Gas prices are declining. I think here locally, our gas prices have dropped 3 straight weeks. With gas prices, food prices follow. I think it's gonna be fairly similar. The card market is, I mean, just take a look at where we've been from a hobby standpoint over the last 4 years, because I think really 2018 was when we really started to see everything go up. And I think in the timeline of the overall state of the hobby, let's 2018, 2019, 20, 21, 22. 21 is an outlier. Second half of 2020 and first half of 2021, that June of 2020 to May of 2021, complete outlier. Throw that out the window. And I think this is the new normal. Why do I think this is the new normal? It's there's more collectors, there's more publicity around the hobby and trading cards than there was in 2019, 2018, and further. What happened during the pandemic, along with that spike, is what I just mentioned: the Gary V's, the Drakes, and all of these loud mouthpieces with huge followings put a large spotlight on the hobby, and that has staying power because of all of the attention, all of the mainstream media attention that the hobby gained. That means there's staying power. And I didn't think in 2020, when we saw that big boom, I'm like, oh, the hobbies, this is going to crash and we're going to go back to normal. But I was wrong, because I underestimated the amount of celebrities and athletes and influencers that came into the hobby, many of which are still in the hobby. So that's why I think this is kind of where we're at here, is the new normal, where we're not going to see a steep decline. We're not going to see a huge rebound to where we were at a year ago. It's just, this is where we're at. And I don't see any big ebbs and flows. Jenny's, I'm spending the day dropping prices on eBay. Hopefully that moves some of it faster. I feel that once the price of everything else goes back to their normals, that the card market will pick up again. Inflation always affects discretionary spending. Absolutely. But here's the thing. We haven't had long-term inflation. This is very short-term. How long have gas prices been where they've been? 3 months, 4 months? Very interim. And we're already starting to see those gas prices go down. When fuel prices go down, that will affect prices at the grocery store because transportation costs go down. Will they go back? It's kind of like PSA though. Will they go back down to $10 a slab? Absolutely not. There's a new normal now, and we got used to seeing, even though on an interim basis, on a short-term basis, we saw $5 and $6 gas prices at the fuel pumps. Now we see $4. Did you see gas is under $5? We actually said that. I'm sure many of us did. I said it when we got used to seeing. I saw $6 in the Chicago area. It was $5.50 around here. Gas prices went up. Hey, it's only $4. I'm not going to fill up in Illinois. I'm going to go into Wisconsin. It's under $5 a gallon, and that's in 3 months. And we were saying that a year ago, 6 months ago. It's like, holy crap, $4.99 a gallon for gas. Now, will it? Oil barrels of oil prices, those will go down. Demand, all that stuff. It's all. All in sync, but now we get used to seeing it's like, we can keep these gas prices at $4 a gallon, $3 a gallon, even though look at where the price of a barrel of oil is compared, in 2019, gas prices were, I don't know, $2 a gallon. Same barrel of oil costs the same as what it did when we had $2, but now it's $4. So, will we see that? I don't know. The food prices will follow. Let's see. Eric says, crap, where am I at? You have to acknowledge that we are in a recession and yet cards are still selling. That's a great point. It's still early though. I think it's we're still early. Crap, my battery's going dead. It's still early on, and it's going to take a much longer term to really affect that discretionary spending. Let's see. Don't throw your NFL reporter kid. You can sell 100 reporter kid for $5 plus $5. Okay, I didn't realize they were that cheap. Maybe I won't go dig through the trash if they're only selling for $5 for 100. I don't even know if I have 100. Some of the heritage packs in the 2000s had gum and plastic. That's probably what I was thinking. I think a lot of what's selling and being spent around the world is due to people being locked away for years and not spending. And that's a good point. I think there's still a lot of discretion, even though that stimulus money is, we're not getting stimulated by the government. We were stuck inside for a year and a half, 2 years, and we didn't spend any money. We still have, money to spend. So maybe that's why the current state of the economy isn't affecting that discretionary income. And maybe we are due. Maybe if this is longer lasting, maybe it does affect our eBay stores and our baseball card sales and the card shows. But right now it hasn't. But you never know. TD says oil went below $100 a barrel yesterday. And what's the gas prices? Around here, it's still $4.50. The new normal. Now we're used to it, and we're gonna pay. What was, I'd have to go back and look. Do I still? Crap! I deleted. I used to have all my transportation links, and I had the historical fuel charts on my bookmark, and I could have quickly looked at that. But that's in my battery's going low. But I do want to check that out and see when oil was $100 a barrel, see how it affected fuel prices. The people that continue to spend and do in the pandemic will suffer the most. Let's see. Low Roller still talking about those reporter kid cards. Didn't Topps Total have gum and plastic? That could be. I don't think I ever bought any Topps Total. Bitcoin hit rock bottom, now hanging around 17 to 20K. It's like sport cards. 460 in Jersey. There are many Zacks, but only one Porter. Cliff is tardy. What's up, Cliff? Gas going up crazy when it hit Hurricane Katrina. First time $2 per gallon in the USA. It never went down under $1 as normal life. Let's see. That's because 18 months ago it was $1.49, so to almost triple in a short span is very shocking. Well, 18 months ago we were in the middle of the pandemic and there was no demand for fuel. People weren't traveling. So there was just no demand for filling up your car. Now we can travel. People are traveling. I think I read a report. This is take it with a grain of salt, but travel in the USA was like at the highest point, and yet here we are at $5, $4 or $5 gallon gas. Same oil prices, higher gas prices. Ain't gonna go down much. Yep, you are exactly right. Let's see. So I'm 90 minutes in. My battery, because I didn't plug it in here in the other room, I'll check the modem, see if I can go back into my card room tomorrow morning. So great chat, great conversation. But is that $5 for 100 with free shipping? Because it's not. George, you too. So thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. I do plan on doing a live video tonight with my dollar box buy. So I paid $60 for a small $1 box, dollar box full of cards, maybe 700, 800 cards for $60. So about 8 cents a card. So I'll take you through that and show off, was it a good deal? I think it's a good deal. If it wasn't a good deal, I wouldn't have bought it. So I think it's a good deal. But do you think it's a good deal? That's what the question will be. So tonight, I'll join Light Day at Work tomorrow. Awesome. You'll probably be drinking coffee and I'll be drinking beer when I go live. So I'll aim for 7:30-ish p.m. Central Time, 7:30 p.m. Central tonight. We'll go through the dollar box and I'll show off what I pulled out. And if I'm feeling, I might throw in one of the 4 dime boxes and just go through, just depending on how things go and how much shipping I have to do. So aim for 7:30 p.m. Central. We'll go live tonight, go through the dollar box I bought at the recent Janesville card show. So that's it for today. Tune in tonight, 7:30 p.m. Central. Live again tomorrow at 7 a.m. Central. We'll see you later. Hit the like, subscribe. Have a great Wednesday.